Greetings, my name is Cynthia, and I've recently emerged from what I consider the most challenging period of my life. It's been an emotional journey, and I appreciate your patience as I share my story, which might be a bit lengthy. My adventure began in college where I met Albert. We hit it off almost immediately, attracted to each other partly because we were considered some of the best-looking people on campus. Our relationship progressed quickly, and soon after graduating, Albert proposed. We joyfully accepted each other's proposal, but decided to wait a bit before getting married. We were both ambitious, focusing on our careers, and wanting to ensure we were financially stable before tying the knot. Albert suggested I move in with his family to save on living expenses and bond with them, which seemed practical for both of us. I dove into my work, dreaming of a grand wedding surrounded by all our loved ones. Albert, belonging to a wealthy and influential family, worked at his father's company, making my dream of a lavish wedding quite achievable. After about 5 years of focusing on our careers, I discovered I was unexpectedly pregnant. Despite taking precautions, the news came as a shock. I was so convinced I wasn't pregnant that I visited a doctor to confirm, only to learn I was already 4 months along. That evening, I had a heart-to-heart with Albert. "Albert, I have something important to tell you," I started, nervous about his reaction. "Is it good or bad news?" he asked, visibly anxious. "It depends on how you see it," I replied, trying to ease into the conversation. I missed my period for the last 4 months. At first, I thought it was just the birth control, but then I took a pregnancy test. "And?" Albert pressed, his anxiety growing. "I'm pregnant," I revealed, watching his face for any sign of his feelings. He paused momentarily, absorbing the news, then asked, "Are you sure? Could the tests be wrong?" I thought the same, so I went to the doctor. "They confirmed it," I explained. "Wow, this is unexpected. But it's wonderful news, Cynthia. Why would you think I'd see it as anything but fantastic?" Albert said, his initial shock turning into joy. Our journey had taken an unexpected turn, but it was the beginning of a new chapter in our lives, filled with hope and excitement for the future. I was unsure about Albert's reaction to our unexpected pregnancy, given how focused we both were on our careers. I feared a baby might be seen as a significant detour from our plans. However, Albert's response was unexpectedly positive. He reassured me that this was fantastic news and insisted that we expedite our wedding plans. We organized a grand wedding in no time, and within 3 months, we exchanged vows. Throughout my pregnancy, Albert was exceptionally caring and supportive, never leaving my side, even amidst the whirlwind of wedding preparations. His support made everything more manageable and enjoyable. However, our bliss was short-lived. About 3 months into our marriage, Albert began to distance himself. He stopped being the supportive partner he once was. Attempts to discuss what was wrong were met with silence or avoidance. This shift was hard on me, especially when I gave birth to our beautiful daughter, Emma, without him by my side. My complications after birth, including a mini stroke and significant blood loss, necessitated 2-month-long hospital stay, during which Albert did not visit once. This abandonment was deeply hurtful. Donna, my mother-in-law, was my pillar during this time, supporting me in Albert's absence. I later learned from her that Albert doubted Emma's paternity and decided on a DNA test, suspecting the timing of my pregnancy was suspicious. This was a further blow, as I had never given him any reason to doubt my fidelity. The test confirmed Emma was indeed his child, but Albert had already distanced himself too much to reconnect as a father or a husband. For 8 years, Emma and I lived in this strained environment. Albert's disengagement and insistence on me quitting my job before our troubles only added to the isolation and difficulty of those years. Despite the pain and challenges, I had little recourse but to navigate this new reality as best as I could, focusing on raising Emma amidst the broken fragments of what was once a hopeful partnership. During my pregnancy, I found myself without any personal savings to rely on. Meanwhile, Albert was thriving in his role at his father's company, which assured me he had the means to support us. My primary reason for staying in the house was to ensure I could be there for my daughter, Emma, without facing additional hardships. Albert's attention to Emma and me dwindled to almost nothing, and any concerns I voiced about household responsibilities were met with complaints. It became clear that the considerate man I once knew had changed drastically. I remained solely because I was looking after his parents, a responsibility Albert seemed keen to avoid. His parents, Carl and Donna, idolized him, convinced he could do no wrong. Despite witnessing how he treated us, they sided with Albert, assuming I must have provoked his neglect. This realization initially wounded me, but I gradually learned to move past it. Carl and Donna both had significant health issues. Carl with diabetes and Donna with heart conditions, requiring considerable care. With Albert and his brother Jerry consumed by their business, the task of caring for their parents fell to me. I had suggested hiring a caregiver for them, but Albert rejected the idea. Since taking on the household's financial responsibilities, he became excessively frugal to the point of miserliness, impacting our quality of life significantly. Our diet consisted mainly of canned and microwaved meals, and I often took Emma out to eat just to ensure she received some nutritious food. There was a particularly distressing incident when Emma fell ill with a high fever that wouldn't subside. This situation underscored the dire conditions we were living under, highlighting the challenges of maintaining our health and well-being in an environment constrained by Albert's strict control over our finances and his neglect of our basic needs. My anxiety escalated as my daughter showed no signs of getting better. In desperation, I pleaded with Albert to consider taking her to the hospital. "Emma is seriously ill. We need to get her medical attention," I implored. "It's just a fever. A wet cloth on her forehead should suffice." Albert dismissed my concerns with alarming indifference. "But she's been unwell for a whole week without any improvement. She's hardly eating. I'm certain something's wrong," I countered, my worry deepening. Albert insisted on letting her heal naturally, arguing that coddling her would hinder her body's ability to combat illness. His lack of empathy for his daughter shocked me. I begged through tears for him just to provide the means to seek medical help, but he retorted, questioning my right to demand money given my lack of income, a situation he had enforced on me after our daughter's birth. Albert expressed a chilling disdain for family life, confessing a desire to have distanced himself from us long ago. I turned away from him, heartbroken and frustrated, feeling utterly alone in my struggle. As I made my way to Emma's room, teary-eyed, I encountered Jerry, Albert's brother, who immediately sensed the urgency upon seeing my distress. After hearing the situation, he swiftly offered his help, instructing me to bring Emma to his car. Just as we were leaving, Albert chased after us, berating our decision as reckless towards the family's finances. Jerry sharply rebuked him for his insensitivity, and, without waiting for a response, drove us away. My heart raced with fear for my daughter's well-being, grateful for Jerry's intervention. Without his assistance, I would have been forced to seek financial help from friends, highlighting the dire situation we found ourselves in due to Albert's callousness. I was immensely thankful for Jerry's kindness, a stark contrast to his brother's indifference. Upon arriving at the emergency room with Cynthia, the medical team performed numerous tests and determined she had hyperpyrexia, essentially an extremely high fever, triggered by an underlying condition. In Cynthia's case, it was worsened by inflammation in her major arteries, a serious complication for a child. She was required to stay in the hospital for several days under close observation to manage her fever. Throughout this ordeal, Albert repeatedly phoned me, criticizing my decision to hospitalize Cynthia despite his objections. I attempted to explain the severity of her condition during his first call, but my words fell on deaf ears. Choosing to ignore his subsequent calls, I focused instead on Cynthia's well-being. Jerry was incredibly supportive during this time. He visited daily, allowing me brief respites to care for myself while he kept Cynthia company, bringing her favorite toys to lift her spirits. Seeing her smile and laugh again was a relief amidst the stress and worry of her hospital stay. After Cynthia was discharged, Jerry's behavior towards us changed significantly. Previously, he had maintained a distance, adhering to a philosophy of not interfering in what he perceived as Albert's responsibility. However, witnessing our plight firsthand seemed to alter his perspective. He began taking active steps to support us, a welcome change that made our lives considerably easier. One memorable day, Jerry took Cynthia and me to the park. As Cynthia played, Jerry and I shared ice creams, a moment of normalcy that was rare for us. I noticed a melancholic expression on his face and inquired about his thoughts. Encouraging him to open up, I reminded him of the support he had extended to us, hinting at the deep bond that had formed among us despite the challenging circumstances. In a moment of need, I expressed to Jerry how much his support meant to us, emphasizing that his presence had been a solace in our lives. I told him, "You've been there when we needed it most. Let me offer you support in return." Jerry shared his disbelief at how his brother, Albert, could neglect us so profoundly. I can't understand how he could overlook you both so easily, he confessed. I admitted that Albert's coldness was a tough pill to swallow, a sentiment I grappled with daily. The hope that Albert might revert to the man he once was, a hope dimmed by his continued indifference towards his daughter under the same roof. I had come to terms, albeit painfully, with our precarious situation, acknowledging my employment challenges after years out of the workforce and the industry advancements I had missed. Jerry then suggested I seek employment, even outside my expertise, to gain financial independence. Earning something is better than nothing, he urged, highlighting the possibility of working while Emma was in school and proposing daycare as a solution for after-school care. I appreciated his suggestion, but explained the reality of my daily responsibilities. From caring for his parents to managing all household duties, left me with no time to pursue work. Jerry's realization of my full load of responsibilities was a turning point. He apologized for his previous oversight and vowed to assist me in lightening my burdens and finding a job. His acknowledgement and promise of support were unexpectedly comforting, a stark contrast to my previous invisibility within the household. True to his word, Jerry became actively involved in household tasks and cared for his parents, significantly easing my load. This newfound support fostered a stronger family dynamic and allowed me to explore employment opportunities. Jerry's efforts to secure a desk job for me were a testament to his genuine care and commitment to improving our situation, marking a hopeful chapter in our lives amidst ongoing challenges. Jerry managed to secure a desk job for me at a company owned by one of his friends. It didn't pay much, but it was enough for me to start saving for my place. However, Albert was visibly upset about Jerry's support towards me. He often accused Jerry of misusing family resources on people he deemed unworthy. Their disagreements escalated to a point where they almost came to blows, only calming down when I intervened. Over time, Jerry chose to ignore Albert's bitter remarks, a strategy I adopted as well. I avoided Albert as much as possible, fearing his temper might be directed at me if we were ever alone. My plan was simple: save enough for a deposit on an apartment and move out as soon as possible. One day, as I tiptoed past Albert's room, my curiosity was piqued by loud yelling. Peeking through the slightly ajar door, I witnessed Albert unleashing his frustration on his pillow, then sitting on his bed in a state of quiet turmoil. It was a moment of vulnerability that painted a picture of a man struggling with his demons. Suddenly, he sprang into action, making a phone call where he vented about the tensions at work, particularly highlighting how Jerry's team was outperforming his, which he attributed to Jerry's leadership style. Albert was authoritative and demanding with his team, often pushing them too hard, while Jerry adopted a more relaxed and respectful approach, resulting in higher productivity. Albert couldn't grasp the reason behind Jerry's success, which fueled his resentment further. He also lamented how Jerry's influence was altering household dynamics, expressing his intent to undermine Jerry and the rest of us, whom he felt showed him no respect. This peek into Albert's frustrations revealed the deep-seated issues affecting his behavior at home and work. It became evident that Albert's authoritarian leadership and inability to foster respect among his peers and family members were at the heart of the discord, driving a wedge between him and those around him. Hearing Albert's vindictive plans left me in disbelief, but I initially dismissed his threats as mere anger-fueled rhetoric, doubting he'd act on them. However, I couldn't shake off the unease and decided to keep a vigilant eye on his actions. 2 weeks later, my concerns were validated when Albert had a friend over, and I overheard them plotting against Jerry. During their conversation, Albert expressed frustration with Jerry's helpfulness towards me and our daughter, and his caregiving for our parents. He insinuated Jerry's kindness was a strategy to inherit the family's assets. His friend suggested securing the family home and business in Albert's name to oust everyone else, ideas that Albert eagerly entertained. Disturbed by their scheming, I withdrew before they noticed my presence, though I suspected Albert knew I was eavesdropping. The following day, the atmosphere at home was palpably tense, with everyone wearing somber expressions at the dinner table. No one would tell me what had transpired, but the air was thick with unease. That night, I wrestled with the decision to expose what I had overheard. Despite Carl and Donna's harshness towards me, they had shown kindness to my daughter when needed, and Jerry had been nothing short of a guardian angel. They deserved to know the truth, regardless of the personal cost. The dilemma of whether to inform them about Albert's malicious intentions weighed heavily on me, highlighting the moral imperative to protect my daughter and those who had shown us genuine care in our most challenging times. The day after returning from work, I braced myself to share a crucial discovery with Carl, Donna, and Jerry. With Albert absent, the timing felt right to reveal Albert's plot against them. My heart pounded as I gathered them in the living room, the gravity of the situation weighing heavily on me. "I need to share something important," I began, the urgency clear in my voice. "I overheard Albert planning something detrimental against Jerry, and indirectly against both of you." Their response was chilling. "Leave," they commanded, dismissing me outright. It turned out Albert had preempted my warning, spinning a narrative that I would fabricate stories to turn them against him for financial gain. Dumbfounded by their accusation, I protested, but to no avail. They believed Albert's version, stating he had secured all assets in his name, leaving nothing for me. The situation escalated, with threats of calling Child Protective Services to take my daughter if I didn't leave. Devastated, I agreed to depart, promising only that they care for my daughter. Packing hastily, I said a tearful goodbye to Emma, her cries echoing my heartbreak. In this dark hour, I reached out to a long-lost friend who graciously offered her home and support. She became my sanctuary, offering a place to stay and a listening ear. Despite the turmoil, her kindness brought moments of laughter and comfort. The very next day, a call from Carl threw another curveball. Albert had expelled them from the house and terminated Jerry's job, leaving them financially stranded. They pleaded for my assistance, but the bridge had been burned. I contacted Child Protective Services, explaining the dire situation. Remarkably, I regained custody of Emma. My friend's support provided a temporary but stable home for us, countering claims of my inability to provide. While Carl, Donna, and Jerry bombarded me with angry calls for not aiding them, my focus remained on safeguarding my daughter, given their refusal to heed my earlier warning. Now, with full custody of Emma and the support of my best friend, I've embarked on rebuilding our lives. She helped me secure a new job, and I'm navigating the divorce from Albert. Life is slowly but surely improving, a testament to resilience and the unexpected kindness that can emerge from the bleakest situations.